everybody for showing up today for week 2 of the training. This is going to be an interesting, fun time for us, and I certainly hope that all of you had the opportunity to do the values exercises and everything and answer the questions in the email that will help us as we move along. Just want you to know we're going to be moving along pretty rapidly today. And if for any reason, after we go through this and you're going through putting all of these different components together, please feel free to email me with any questions, anything you would like more information on. Definitely want to make sure that nobody gets confused or lost in this process. So let's get started and let's go with the sharing of the screen. Okay, as we went through last week, we started the awakening process as we broke everything down, and that's what we're going to start today. We're going to talk about and really get some clarity on our values, conditioning, beliefs. We're going to look at if we're dreaming or if we're existing. And then we're going to look at some tools to banish the doubt. And as we go through our values and tying those values into the circle of life so they are congruent. So that's the order that we're going into. But hey, I want to have some fun. So I'm going to ask you, and then those of you who can type really fast, this would be so cool, is I'd like for you to tell me, where is the richest place in the world? Where do you think the richest place in the world is? I would just love to know. So throw some things in the chat real fast and let's have some fun with this. Richest place in the world. Where are the riches? Where are the riches? Where do they preside? Where do they hide at?
Dubai has come up.
Okay.
London.
London, okay.
Your mind.
Your mind, whoa, all right.
Michelle says my heart.
My heart, all right, cool, I love it. Well, I got news for you. The richest place in the world, you're looking at it. It's the cemetery. And you say, well, Randy, that's kind of morbid. Why would you say the cemetery? Well, it's really simple, because that's where so many dreams, so many desires, so many songs that never got sung, so many businesses that never got started, so many things that never happened, right? Because people took their dreams, their goals, their visions, they took them to the grave with them. And one of the things I like to share with people really clear, and I know some people say that this is morbid, but this is the reality. No one gets out of life alive. And sometimes we sit back and we wait and we think that tomorrow is granted. We think that tomorrow is just going to be here. That's why I say, read more obituaries. So you can ask yourself, what would you want your obituary to say? What would you want people to say about you? If they look back, as you look back on your life right now, what would you say about you? How many people would be willing to be hanging out with you? So the reason I say it's the richest place in the world, because again, for so many of us, probably not the people on this call, but for so many of the people that you may know. So let's say we're not talking about anybody on this call, that they just allowed the good opinion of other people, their fears, their doubts, past defeats. Past defeats is the crippler, right? That takes us to start to settle, to live in a mediocre life. And that's what we want to really break through. And that's one of the things you're going to find as we go through this process. So I'm going to ask you a series of really quick questions and just play with them in your mind as we go through this process. Do you have what it takes to create the lifestyle you deserve? 90% of the people, and you can read this, so I'm not going to go through all of this, but again, so many people lack the desire to move past where they've already been and the courage to really, step away from the crowd. Stop trying to fit in. Stop trying to be like everybody else. The beauty about Jump is that if you really get down to it, sometimes it may look like we're alike, but when you get into the details, when you get into who we are, when you get into all the different components of our company, you see very quickly that we're not. Very unique. So again, first question, and you can answer this for yourself or the people that you're working with. Are you more concerned about fitting in or living a full life? And just be honest with yourself. It's like holding up a mirror to yourself. What are your options for creating the lifestyle you deserve? I hear all the time now, you hear everybody talking about the gig economy and talking about your side hustle, right? And you know what? The bottom line comes down to, if you're not attached to your passion, if you're not attached to your purpose, everything becomes work. You may accomplish some things, but you're not going to have the juice, the joy, the love, and all the things that go with having a fulfilled life. And then, most important question, are you willing to let go of the past? Are you willing to let go of the past and create what you desire? That's key. So let's talk about what some of the past would look like, because we allow that to control our future. And I'm going to hit on some things here. So one of the things that happen is we perform by standards of who we used to be, right? And if you're not really looking or having a strong, clear vision, clarity of your vision for the future, what ends up happening is that you will continue to live out of the stories of the past. We'll access everything from yesterday's point of view, not from where you want to go, right? Because what's happened in the past, I mean, I can't tell you how many stories I have. And I'm not attempting to offend anyone here. So let me just be clear, but it's my nature. I was born and raised in the Bronx in New York, so I'm pretty direct, okay? But I cannot tell you the number of stories that I hear from people who talk about they have PTSD and different things from all of what they've experienced in the past. And that may be true, but here's the one thing that I do know. If we allow those past events to control who we are today, the only thing that we can hope for is more of the same thing. So when I look at this and I say, okay, let's really take a look and see, is what you're doing today truly like what you did in the past, right? Does it bring a memory of that to you, right? So the thing that I think is so critically important is that we learn from our past, we understand it, we know what it is, but we can only create our lives. We can only create what we want and what we desire from the vision that we hold in the future and looking at our present moment. And when I look in our present moment, when I look in the present moment of the company Jump to Health, there is nothing in Jump to Health that is going to hurt anyone. So the pain that we think, that we believe that we cause other people is not true. It's just not true. But I understand it because I understand even when I had to make the decision on whether I wanted to fulfill this role and hang out with Audrey and do all the things that we're now doing today. Because I also had allowed the past to shut down certain areas of my life. I had allowed the past to dictate what I was going to do in the future. I allowed the past to take things that I had dreamed about and said, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore because the pain is too great. The pain of disappointing people is too great. So I'm not going to do that anymore. Even though in my heart and soul and every desire that I've ever had was to be able to be part of a team and an instrument that allowed people to really access all they wanted to access in their life, to live the grandest, biggest life that they wanted to live, to do the things that they wanted to do, to have freedom, right? To have their freedom. However, I allowed that to get in my way. So it's pretty interesting. And also, so when we start talking about the past, we stay locked into old defeats and victories. And this works both ways because sometimes we get stuck in the stories of the past. We get stuck in the stories of the victories, right? We keep living from yesterday's news, right? Of who we used to be. Well, who we used to be ain't got diddly squat to do with today. Who we used to be, right? So we're going to talk today about winning. And the thing about winning is that you have to keep doing it. You have to keep winning, right? So that yesterday's victory is gone, right? It's just like the old defeats and victories, they're gone. So we're not looking to repeat those. We're looking to create something new, right? So we can get lost in that. And I like to say the yesterday is not complete. Past incompletions. And what past incompletions do is they create self-doubt. And I have to tell you, doubt, without question, is the #1 destroyer of dreams. So you want to see your dreams go away? All you have to do is look at the doubt. So what happens? How does all of this come about? Well, here's the bottom line. Your behavior can be no different than your beliefs. Your behavior can be no different than your beliefs, right? So when we hear all the time, we talk about Well, what you think about comes about, right? And the problem is that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. But the issue is that we have the same 60,000 thoughts day after day after day after day, right? And our beliefs just become thoughts that we keep thinking. And it's that inner voice. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more today. We're going to talk about that inner conversation, what that means and how it plays a part in your thoughts. What is the message, the clear message that you're giving to yourself? I cannot even tell you the moment. I can tell when I'm talking to people on the phone from their conversation, their tone of voice, where they are based on their own beliefs, right? And so the bottom line is that we can create our destiny based on what we think about and what we allow into our consciousness, because those beliefs and our values, and the values are so critical. And the reason the values are critical, because what we have to first determine with our values is which values are ours and which values are conditioned, right? And so I'll give you a really quick story. I got a couple of stories for you, but it's a really quick story. It's a fun story. I didn't buy my first car until I was 30 years old because I lived in New York. So you don't need a car in New York unless you want to pay rent for your car. So I got my first car when I was 30. And do you know the first car I bought? I'll tell you this real quick. The first car that I bought was a Ford. And you know why I bought a Ford? Because my grandfather, if you showed up at our house with anything other than a Ford, he would not let you in. Don't come with a Chevy, don't come with anything else other than a Ford, because that's what he believed was the best car in the world, right? And so it wasn't like, I realized that after I got the car home and I'm looking at it and I closed the door, I said, I don't even like this car. So I ended up, my first car, going into debt because I had to take it back to find what I really wanted. But that's just how we get conditioned along the way with our beliefs. And until we take the time out to do what I hope you did when you got the email, and that's look at our own values, look at our own lives, because that's what's going to create our behavior and our habits, right? So if you want to have the life that you desire, if you want your business to be all that it can be, it's going to take the habits and behavior, right? A level of focus that you may not have been using up to this time. So we know this, a belief is something that you will argue for. A conviction, and that's a must-have. A conviction is something you would die for. When you move from belief to conviction, you change your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you one thing for sure, and there's not a person on this webinar that can deny this. Anything that you put into your mind, in your heart and soul, that was a must-have for you, that there was no compromise, that you knew without question you were going to do whatever it takes to get it, I guarantee you absolutely positively that it had to materialize. That is the law. That is the way the universal law works, right? The problem is, so we go back to our thoughts and inner voice, we talk ourselves out of our must-haves and we start to do things like settle and things that get into the way of that. And that happens in a couple of different ways. When we talk about controlling that inner conversation, is because you create your reality based on that inner conversation. Your external outcomes, without fail, are a direct result of the internal conversation. Now, check this out. There's two things that happen here. There's a conversation that you're aware of. That's the conversation in the conscious mind. So in the conscious mind, we're aware of certain things, right? So we can meditate, we can think, we can do all kinds of things because they're conscious. We can see them. And if we choose to change them, we can. But what happens sometimes is the emotions, right, that we feel, something reminds us of something, we smell something, or it reminds us of something that causes us pain, and bam, something else happens that takes us away from our focus and our goal. But then the other piece that's incredibly important, right, that takes a little digging is in the subconscious mind, right? Things that we're not aware of that we get triggered by, right? And we don't know why it happens until we dig a little bit and get into the story. That's why understanding your values and putting all these components together makes so much sense. This is not things that most people do or talk about. But we're not just talking about personal development. Let's do some woohoo and get motivated. You don't need motivation. Motivation is not going to get you where you want to go. What you need is mastery. Mastery, when we can master ourselves to do what we know we need or should do. Because all of us know. Isn't it been so interesting, those of you on the call that have worked with people who want to lose weight and going through this whole process. And and you might have done this too. And I just love this conversation when people say, well, I have to see if the products work for me first, and then I'll get moving, right? I have to see if the products work. And they may have been on 6, 7, 10, 20, 30 different products, back and forth, lost and gained more weight, back and forth, but they want to see if the products work. The bottom line is that you got to see if you're willing to work, if you're willing to do what's necessary. Our products will assist in the process of making it easier, simpler, and ensuring that you have the right nutrients in your body. But the education that we're doing today, and you understanding your own personal mastery and being able to deal with your emotions and the things that cause you to grab food, right? So you got to look at where's that big empty hole that's on the inside that has us grab food, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, trying to fill a void, trying to fill a hole that only you can fill through other things that you want to do with your life and your passion. So that's what it really comes down to. Really pretty important. So let's dig into some of the other things and some of the key components of what this is all about. This is Jim Rohn. He was my idol. I went to almost every seminar he ever did, sat in the front row, listened to the same stories, but I just loved his tonality and the simplicity of life. And the thing that he says here, the major value in life is not what you get, because we're all chasing something. That's the problem. We're chasing something. The major value in life is who and what you become, right? That is the key. Who, and so when people say to me, Randy, I want to be wealthy, I want to have all this, I want to have that. I was like, okay, so who must you be, right? Who must you be in order for that to happen? What vision must you hold, right? This is really what's so critical. So you see these top 5 values up here? Those happen to be my top 5 values, right? Freedom is number 1, right? Freedom for me is the most incredible value that I hold dear. And I hold that dear from a lot of different experiences. And as we go through these 12 weeks, you'll hear more and more of my story. I'm not going to try to bore you with it all at the same time. But I spent 22 years working at AT&T. I spent 22 years trying to prove myself. I spent 22 years as an African-American in AT&T in a predominantly white world at a time when there was affirmative action and the abuse and the crap that we had to go through. And the fact that I had to work twice as hard to get just what everybody else was normally getting. But you see, there was a difference. My grandmother raised me really right. And she said, you always bring your best to everything you do. I don't care what it is. If you're sweeping the floor, you sweep that floor like nobody swept it before, right? And so that's what I did. So they couldn't ignore me. All I wanted to know, here's the deal. All I wanted to know is, what are the rules? You give me the rules, right? And I'll play the game, right? I'll play the game because I can't change the rules, but I can play the game, right? So when you look at that, so freedom for me was critical. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. And when I got introduced to Amway, that was the first time in my entire life, that I ever really heard about working for yourself and the American dream. Where I came from and where I grew up from, if you got a job at AT&T or the phone company or Con Edison, you were set for life and you just stayed there till you died, got the gold watch and called it a day, right? And so when I got into Amway, that's when I got introduced to personal development. And that's when I got introduced to Jim Rohn and Earl Nightingale and Brian Tracy and all of the greats of the greats of the greats. And I got to tell you, that changed my life. But I knew that there was something about being free. And the one thing that I could see was that when you were working for someone else, and I'm not saying it's bad to work for someone else, don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that it's really challenging unless you're in a unique position to create freedom, because your labor is going to create freedom for someone else, right? So you're creating the freedom for their kids to go to the schools that they want, for them to drive the cars that they want, right? So I knew that if I wanted to experience that same freedom, that there had to be a way, there had to be a vehicle that I could use. And that's when I got turned on to network marketing. And this is why my second value, love, because what happened was that I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with what the possibilities were. I fell in love with the possibilities were, right? And when I got involved with this company called Excel Telecommunications, I made more money in one month. I don't want to go through all these stuff, but I made more money in 1 month than most people could make in a year. And I gotta tell you, it changed everything. But the reason it changed everything was because I had this strong core belief that we all were going to be rich. Because all you had to do was pick up the phone, dial one, the area code, and the number. There was nothing else complicated that you had to do. But the one thing I didn't keep in mind and I was not aware of was how fast technology changes. Oh my God. And it didn't take long for what was a dream to become a nightmare, right? And so it's so interesting. And then from that, right, so we all have wins and losses in our lives. And I've had plenty of wins and plenty of losses, right? But the one thing that always remained the same was the freedom that I desired and the love that I felt for the people and the fact that what I really wanted in life was for us all to share in the riches of life, for us all to be on equal footing, for no one to be better than anyone else, and to really live in a world and to be able to just come together and celebrate just being alive and living our dreams and living with passion and living on purpose. And that's where spirituality came in, right? Because spirituality, and Audrey, we laugh at this all the time because I'm still working so diligently on getting rid of judgment and being non-judgmental and really seeing people for who they are and what they are, not my perception and story of them, right? And so I want to give myself the freedom of that and the spirituality to connect with a power much greater than myself that can keep me on the road that I need to go into. And then health, because that to me is critical. And anybody who knows me knows that's my number one, right? Health is critical to me, but it's not more critical than my freedom. It's not more critical than the love, and it's not more critical than the spirituality. Those are my guiding lights, the health and then the wealth. Because for me, the wealth can be defined in many different ways. And it really depends on who you are and what you're going for, right? For some, wealth could be just the fact of not having to work for someone else and provide for your family in a way that allows you to paint, allows you to do the things you want to do. Wealth can be having the funds to create what you truly want to create, right? But then the key, when we look at the values, then you have to look at how your values line up. Remember, we did the circle of life. So how do the values line up with the circle of life, right? So we remember, when you go back to that circle of life exercise, this is where this comes together. And you look at your rating and then see what you value and then see, am I congruent? Am I congruent with what I say I value based on where I am on the scale? And then when you track the time, how much time do you have a spend in these areas? So that really becomes the critical thing. And then once you define that, and once you have that, then you're ready for something that's really powerful. But then, without question, our commitment will be tested. You have your values and you're talking and you're ready and you're like, okay, here we go. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line comes down to when we go after the truth, sometimes it's painful, right? Sometimes we have to grow. Sometimes we have to let go of some people that we don't want to let go of. But in order to change, we have to let them go. My grandmother taught me very early. She said, boy, if you don't get away from them boys on the corner, you're going to end up in jail. And she was right. So I got away from those boys on the corner and changed my life. So it's when change is needed, but being inactive is more comfortable. And this comes down to why I always say that network marketing and losing weight are some of the most challenging things that you can do, right? Because what happens when change is needed and when something comes up, it is so amazing how easy it could be to do things that get in your way. I can tell you how I'm feeling based on what I want to put in my mouth, right? When I'm stressed and things are out of sorts for me, just give me some fried chicken and apple pie. Because my grandmother cooked back in the day with Crisco in the can, and we saved it all forever and ever. We cleaned out aluminum foil and all the other things that we did, because her conditioning was from the depression, so we didn't waste a thing, right? So change is critical. Then our convictions. And once you believe something and you know something, it's going to be challenged. And here's the problem. Here's what we live. We live in a culture today where people can't have conversations and decent debates about different things. Everybody has to be right or wrong instead of really just growing to expand. But what are you really convicted about? And I changed this quote a little bit than Martin Luther King, my hero. It says, if a man or woman hasn't discovered something he or she will die for, he or she isn't fit to live, right? So the opposite of courage is not being a coward. It's truly conforming. It's truly allowing yourself to live a mediocre life. It's truly allowing yourself, when you know you can do more, be more, and you choose not to. And you choose to fit in instead of stand out because you're concerned with what somebody else may or may not say. So how do we change that? How do we really look at what's happening and make something different? And I like to call these the must-haves, but not just the must-haves, because people can easily say and have it be about chasing material things. And must-haves are not just, it's not about chasing material things. It's, we can have all those things we want, but that's not the key. What I want for us to experience is the energy of the must-have, the ability to know that I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to master myself. It's non-negotiable, right? So let's look at some of the highlights of value-centered. And the reason I say value-centered is because you want these must-haves to be based on what you value, right? Because value-centered must-haves demand you access your unique gifts and talents, demands you dance to the beat of your own drum. Value-centered must-haves, key. Excellence is the standard. Excellence is the standard. Value-centered must-haves. There is no box. We always say, think outside the box. Well, when you're really driven and nothing's going to stop you, there is no box. Value-centered must-have. They use the muscle of the heart to serve. The muscle of the heart to serve. Right? There is, when you come from your heart, not from your head, that muscle, that's when you talk about your value-centered must-haves. And here's the key, man. When you're going for your must-have, it requires all of you. And not just all of you, and then some more. That's what it takes. It takes a sense of urgency and excitement. So if you want to know why your business isn't moving as fast as it is, then just check yourself and see, are you excited? Are you into it? Are you moving? Are you bringing all that you have to it? Are you expressing a level of excitement, or are you expressing a level of caution? What are you doing? What are you bringing to it, right? So value-centered must-haves requires all of you. Value-centered must-haves clear communication about mission and vision, purpose, passion. What are you up to? What is it all about? And I have to tell you, again, value-centered must-have. It's not a marathon. It's a sprint, and there's no damn finish line, right? It doesn't stop because you keep moving, because what it is, there's no excuses. No excuses are accepted. And value-centered must-haves is a test of character, but the test comes with no answers. And I have to, this is one that's my fave. Value-centered must-haves take you through the valley of hell. And if you quit, that is where you stay. Because most of us, unfortunately, allow the past and we quit right before the miracle is about to happen. We give up on our lives, we give up on our dreams, and how we do it, because we get so damn smart. So how we do it is that we lower what we say we want and we make it okay. We say, well, I'm getting older, I don't have the same drive, so this is okay, I'll settle for this. I promise myself I'm gonna do my best not to use profanity, but that is absolute BS. I believe without question, I believe with every fiber of my being, that the vehicle and the instruments that we have around us right now with our business will give anyone who's willing to go and do the work the ability to have all their must-haves if they are truly value-centered. But it requires a level of energy. It requires a level of commitment. It requires a level of clarity, all the things that we've been talking about in order for that to manifest, in order for that to happen. So let's pull this all together. Let's pull this all together. So I say we got to dare to dream. So what's the dream? We got to define that dream. define it, right? List it down, whatever it is, what is it that's important to you? And then when you're defining the dreams and you're defining the lifestyle, and when you look at it as a lifestyle, so where does it fit on your circle of life? And more importantly, because I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is the one that I blew horribly, is who do you need to communicate with about what's necessary to accomplish the dream? I was so driven with this business and the money that I was making at one time. It cost me a marriage, it cost me a family, it cost me homes, it cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars because I was so driven. And anybody that got in my way, I said, you're a dream snatcher, you're a dream killer. You're trying to kill my dream. And they would say, well, can you spend 5 minutes with me? And I'm like, no, I can't spend 5 minutes with you because I'm on a 24/7 clock. But I didn't communicate. You see, I didn't communicate effectively, right? If I had to do it all over again, I would say, hey, you know what? I need 2 years. I need 6 months. I need a year. And this is the level of commitment that I have to put in for what I'm doing for this period of time. And when this period of time is over, this is what we'll get to do together. Can we agree to that? I would communicate it totally different. So I'm going to tell you right now, don't go into this 24/7 must-have mode without fair communication with the people you care about and the people that you want to benefit from you accomplishing the dreams. Because many people that I meet, when I say, what's your why? What are you doing this for? Why are you doing this? What is it? And so many of them say their family. And I hate to tell you this, gang, but most of the time that's a lie, because the family didn't just show up. So what we got to do is dig a little deeper to say, what's going to get you to do what you haven't done before? And when you come to that reality, of what you're going to do that you haven't done before, then you need to communicate and come to an agreement with the people you care about. So then you can make that plan and you can make a timeline and you can honor those commitments. So then everybody wins. So you take that information and then you tie that into how do they align with your top 5 values, right? So like if you remember my values, so I'll just use one, say house on the beach, right? Let's say you want a house on the beach. So how bad do I want that? Is it a must have, right? Are those things a must have? Am I willing? Where does it fit in my circle of life? Well, it fits around almost everything there. So the bottom line is, and what else is going to be needed? I'm going to have to be healthy, and there's going to have to be a level of wealth that's involved in that process. So many people have like their values, but they think that when they say a value of wealth, that they're being greedy, because we've been conditioned to believe that. And the bottom line is that if there's things that you desire that have a monetary value, well, if wealth isn't one of your values and you're not paying attention to it, chances are that it may not ever materialize, right? It might, but it may not. However, if you know what it is that you want and what the reasons are that you want it and what level of service you're going to provide to get it. So what makes it a value-centered must-have? So it has to be something that you feel in your heart and soul you can't do without. Now, here's the interesting part, because how the law works, right, is that you want to focus in on what you want, not what you don't want, right? And the key to really bring this all together is that you have to feel it emotionally, feel it as if it's already done. Know that it's done. See it in front of you as being done. Don't see it as something you need in order to be happy. Be happy now, right? Because if you're happy now, the chances of it coming faster increase 10, 20, or 100-fold. So see it as, because it's not like we need these must-haves to be happy. The must-haves are just a complement, right, to our lives. And then look at how will I measure it? And more importantly, and this is the key of building a community. This is the key of having people that you love and trust. And if you build it, if we all think about this, and you look at our revenue sharing plan, it drives me crazy. But when you look at our revenue sharing plan, just by building a small community, you can literally change your life and the life of many other people. And in that process, bring forth all the dreams and desires and passions that you have, right? And you can do it together. You can do it together and then see who's going to hold you accountable to what you say you want. who's going to be that person, right? Who's going to be that person that you can count on that's going to tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And the people that I work with know this for a fact. I will listen to your story for a little while, but my only question is going to be, what are we going to do about it? Because that's all I want to get into. I don't care about the problem. What is the solution, right? What are we going to do about it? That's why I don't have many friends, as most of you know. All right. So here's the bottom line. Okay. And this can come up with a lot of debate because I love this topic. This is one of my favorite topics, right? You either win or, right? So I'm sure most of you thought of lose. Well, I'm going to tell you, you either win or learn when you're going for your must-haves. You either win or learn. There are no participation trophies. Your life, we don't get out of life alive. So yeah, you're going to participate in life. But what is your life going to be? What is it going to, how's it going to be? How's that legacy going to be for you? And I know some people think that winning is such a strong term or whatever. So let's define it. What is winning? So let's define, number one, key, critical. Let's define, who are you competing with? The only person you're competing with is you, and mastering yourself. So what we're talking about in winning is mastering ourselves. We can't control what anybody else does, but what we can control is ourselves. We can control what we put in our bodies. We can control all the things that we can control. And so you have to get to a place, this is just my opinion, where winning is the only option. But the thing about it, it's not done at the expense of others. No. Winning is not done at the expense of others. It's done in being of excellent service to others. It's done by providing products and services and resources and education that allows them to change their life. Winning demands, when you want to compete with yourself, demands that you focus and that you're relentless, right? So people can feel your energy and they're like, man, I don't know what you have, but whatever it is, I'm going to get some of it. Can you put it in a bottle? Winning challenges the ordinary and mediocre. People sit around and they just become ordinary and they just accepted another day, another dollar, just trying to get by, all of that crap over. And that's all it is. It's wasted time and energy. But winning challenges the ordinary and mediocre. Winning is following your path, not the path of other people. Because when you look at the path of other people, most in this industry, we don't even want to go there, right? Most in life are unhappy and miserable. The rates of suicide now are off the charts, right? Because people are not winning in their own life. And again, we're talking about personal mastery, not competing against anybody else, because what we want to do is collaborate with other people, but we want to win the day for ourselves and win in our hearts. And winning is rising from the heart, right? Winning requires results, and results require personal mastery. And here's something that winning doesn't allow. It doesn't allow you to settle. It doesn't allow you to settle. Settling is not a possibility. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, winning is uncommon. What I can tell you about winning, when you win the battle and you are really master of yourself, personal mastery, what will happen is you will go from self-betrayal to self-realization, and you'll see yourself in the light that you were designed to be seen. Because, ladies and gentlemen, winning is everything. Everything, because we're winning for ourselves. We're winning to bring the best out of who we are, ourselves. And by doing that, we set the stage, we set the example, we become and show people what is possible. It's truly, truly amazing. But in order to do that, I tell you, personal matter, first of all, we want to banish the doubt. We got to get rid of the doubt, because I know some of you have heard this message maybe before, but it's about getting rid of the doubt and what personal mastery demands. And really what it comes down to is courage. And I'm going to do this quickly, so stay with me here. It's really the C in courage, clarity on who you really are. We're talking about that. We've done that. We're going through our value systems. Overcoming conditioning. Look at how we've been conditioned and now set our lives up exactly as we want them, right? You are in control of your own destiny. Understand that you are monitoring those internal conversations. You get to utilize your gifts and talents. We all, each individual, each person on this call has their own gifts and talents. Tap into your gifts and talents and stop trying to be somebody else. Be you. Fully embrace and be yourself. Rejoice daily with an attitude of gratitude, right? Sometimes we can get so caught on things that we think that we want. We lose sight to be grateful and happy and just rejoice in what we have, because most of us on this call, all of us on this call, are extremely blessed and grateful to be doing the things that we're doing, involved in the things that we're involved in. Even to have the technology to be on this call, doing what we're doing, puts us ahead of 90% of people on the damn planet. Applied faith. You want to get rid of doubt? It comes down to faith. Faith in yourself. And how do you get faith in yourself? You get faith in yourself by mastering yourself, doing what you know that you are here to do. Doing that, keeping your word to yourself. That faith will eliminate the doubt, because then it can't stop you. Right? But what happens every time we disappoint ourselves and we don't follow through on the things that are important to us and who we really are, that's when the doubt steps in, right? Because we are not applying faith in ourselves. When we apply that faith to ourselves, you cannot lose. And bottom line, you got to give it all, right? Don't hold back on expressing who you are, and not just giving it all for you, but unconditional service to others, right? When people that you're working with and people that your customers and things, you want to give them the kind of service that they didn't even know was possible, right? That they would never even want to think about being with somebody else or getting another product from another company, because they don't want to lose that connection to you because of the value that you bring to them, right? The value that you bring to them. And the wonderful thing about Jumping, all that we do here, is that we have nothing but the utmost value and excellence to deliver to anybody. So there's no excuses. And here's the key. You got to elevate yourself to a higher standard. You got to demand excellence of yourself. And as you demand that of yourself and people see that about you, guess what? Guess what? They know that they want to hang with you. This is what they have to do. So I hope this was beneficial. But now what I want to do is I'm going to just quickly run through, and then I'm going to tell you about what the whole movie process is for. But it's great to have all this information. But now, for those of you who are looking at Jump for a business, right? So the thing about personal mastery is that you got to master the basics. You got to master the fundamentals, right? So let's talk about, how do you do that? Number one, step one, determine what kind of life you desire, right? So if you're new or you're just coming into this process, you want to select the appropriate package to you that matches your outcome. So when you look at the things that you want and the outcomes that you want to have, then you select the package that fits that. You want to complete the value exercises and look at the product packs and select the package that's correct for you. Step two, right? When we say you're a Jump coach or mentor, that could be the person who sponsored you. That could be somebody else on your team who's going to hold you accountable, who's going to be the person that you want to identify people that you are going to be working with, right? And most of you have already done this already. Our circle of life inventory. And then next week, we're going to spend a little bit more time on vision, and then the action plan to bring that vision to reality, responsibility for achieving your lifestyle. And you want to stay plugged into this training. You want to stay plugged into just really mastering yourself, getting yourself to do what you say you want to do. How many people say they work part-time, but really they work some of the time, right? And so really it's like defining the hours, defining what you want to do, putting a plan together, making that happen, dialing into the calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It is so important. And don't just get yourself on a call, right? Three-way somebody on with you on the call, or make sure that your 3 team members that you're working with are on the call with you, right? So they can follow your example. Step 3, become familiar with all the tools. God knows we got more tools than we know what to do. We got tools, we got apps, we got the social community, we got all those things. And Audrey has just done an amazing job with so many different things, the stories that we have, the products that we have, the back office. the app, everything is there for you. So become familiar with it. Take some time out to learn that. Now, to build a community, I remember back in the day, some of you on this call remember back on the day when we used to say, you need a list of 100, 200, get the yellow pages. Can you believe that? We used to have yellow pages, right? That's really dating myself. But so we get the yellow pages and just get anybody's name out there and just, just go to them, go do the 3-foot rule, right? Well, that's just plain out stupidity, right? So today, what you have to understand and know, who do you want to work with? Who do you want to build with? Who do you want to have fun with? What people are going to have the same level of commitment that you have? Because remember, in this game of life that we have here with Jump to Help, we are uniquely different. Uniquely different. You do not need thousands of people to change your life. You can start to change your life with less than 50. Literally, less than 50 people, you can start to change your life. And just imagine, with the 3 or 4 that you're working with, and they go through that process that you do. This is so simple. This is why I get frustrated sometimes. But this is so simple. But sometimes we're so locked into how we believe we used to do things or what we need to do now. And the bottom line is go talk to people, get in their face, explain to them, let them know you love them, let them know you care about them, show them how, by working together, you can create something together. You can create something together, right, that cannot be broken, because Jump isn't going anywhere. The products are just going to get better and better. The revenue sharing plan is there for you to take advantage of so you can utilize it, right? Not a side hustle or a side gig, but as a way of life. And then you can apply that to your purpose, to your passion, so you can bring forth the things that are important to you, no matter what it is that you want to do. You want to, help people that have diabetes, or if you want to, there's so many things that we can do when the basic financial needs that we have are taken care of. We can do so many powerful things. So identify who you want to play with and who wants to play with you. And if they don't want to play with you, love them. Let them stay on the products, let them be your customers, and keep loving them anyway. But really get with the people who have a desire. As my grandmother used to tell me, hang with people. If you're the biggest person in the pool, you better change pools, right? So just really get with people who get you and you get them, and you're working together to bring something together that hasn't been around before. And here's the key, share your story. Man, when you look at that back office now where you can go in and put your story in, you can put your pictures in, you can really do this. And this is why I asked you, what's your favorite movie? Because what is a movie? A movie is a story, right? It's a story. And you get so engaged in that story, right? We know it's not real. We know people are acting, right? But we get engaged in the story. The story carries us away. We get into the emotions. That's why I said your favorite. And so as you were coming up with those favorites, I'm sure it brought forth that emotion to you, right? And so this is what, just as if you were watching your favorite movie, you want to create your story and take the time out to connect with people by sharing your story. And you can share your story in ways that just allows them to know, number one, that you're there to listen to their story. And you want to adjust. This is what we talk about, the 3 C's: connection, conversion, connection, conversation, conversion. You want to connect. And from the conversation, you want to hear, you want to ask questions, you want to see, and you want to make sure that you're not sharing something with them that they were not even interested in. Because a man or woman convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. And remember that people support what they create together. So I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you really quickly. My favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. And so I think somebody said that earlier, The Wizard of Oz. And so my favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. I love when they did The Wiz and they had Michael Jackson and Lena Horne, and she sung that song. And still, when I think of it now, I can cry right now thinking of it. Most powerful story to me, because it was a spiritual tale. And so what I'm going to do is, for those of you who are on this call, right, I am going to give a winner $150 worth of Jump product, $150 worth of Jump product for the best story. And here's what I mean by the best story. The best story has to take in the components. I want you to use your imagination. Think of the Wizard of Oz. You may have to go watch the movie again. Go watch the Wizard of Oz. And I want you to take those characters and now put your story together from that script. So you get to script out your story. I want you to practice scripting out a story like it's a movie, because then you're going to be able to look at your life like a movie. And the Wizard of Oz is one of my favorites, so I'm using that. And then whoever has the best story, right, will get $150 worth of jump product. And there's going to be some other things. So next week, when we come together on the call, each week, we're going to give away something. We're going to do something that's going to allow us to move forward, but also to take what we're doing and have some fun along the way, sharing your story with other people, getting all the characters, the lion, Dorothy, the Tin Man, the wizard, looking for someone else to be able to give you what's already inside of you. I mean, there's just so many components of that story. So have some fun with it. Has to be at least 250 words in order for it to be valid. Okay, and so this is what we're talking about. Your passion and purpose exercises. You'll see this on the replays and the questions that you can begin to ask people. We got a replicated site. We got an app. We have all that. You got all these things are things that you know. It's just a matter of getting yourself to do what you know. Connect with people. Share your story. Right? We know we have those calls on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that's the movie references. And one other thing I wanted to just remind you of really quickly, and then we'll end here. And I got to see if I can do this. Okay, yeah, we go. So remember, we have this promotion going on, the 4 and 12-week leadership incentives, right? So between now and the end of June, sponsor 3 new personal executives and work with them, right? 3 get their 3, do that, right? You're going to earn a total commission of $1,000, $1,000. We got 2 weeks left to the month. That's easy to do. That is not challenging to do. And then if you take it through the whole cycle, the whole gamut, as we go through here, we're talking about doubling the mentoring bonus. I mean, when you look at all the other promotions and things that are going on right now, literally June could be your month. And if you got to carry it into July, fine. But let's really get focused. And the only way we can get focused is based on what you say you want. That's really what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. What are your must-haves? Are you willing to do what's necessary? Are you willing to do what's necessary in order to produce the results that you want for yourself and your family? Do you have a sense of urgency? Do you have a sense of belief? If there's something that you do not believe, then challenge it, talk about it, work it out, see what's going on. If you're locked into the past events of past failures and past things that happened to you, all I can share with you is that there comes a time when we have to let it go and move forward. The one thing I know with absolute certainty is no one gets hurt and jump. That much I do know. So I want to thank everybody for hanging with me this week. Stay tuned next week. We're going to be getting a lot of different emails and things out to you. Share those stories and any questions, any concerns, anything that comes up that you need some support on, just email me, randy@jumptohelp.com. I love you, care about you. Let's make something happen. Let's do something that's never been done before. Let's shift this industry and bring a level of abundance and clarity and connection to people's lives that they didn't even know was possible. So I thank you very much, and everybody have an absolutely awesome night.